Someone at work takes credit for something you did. You know it. Your manager knows it. Maybe everyone knows it. But nobody says anything, and neither do you. Because starting that conversation feels terrifying. What do you say? How do you say it? What if it makes things worse? Today, Alex is in that exact situation. His colleague James presented Alex's work as his own, and Alex is going to say something about it. First, Sarah helps him prepare. Then, we hear the actual conversation. Listen carefully. We will go through the key phrases at the end. Let's go. Alex spent 3 weeks developing a new campaign strategy for a major client. Yesterday, his colleague James presented it to the senior leadership team. He used Alex's slides, Alex's data, and Alex's ideas, and he did not mention Alex once. Alex found out from another colleague who was in the room. Now Alex needs to say something to James, but he does not know how to start.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what happened. James took your strategy, the one you had been working on for 3 weeks, and presented it to the leadership team as if it were his own work. Is that right?
That is exactly right. He used my slides, he used the data I pulled together, he even used the exact wording from the brief I wrote, and my name was not mentioned once. Not once.
And how did you find out?
Tom was in the room. He messaged me straight after and said, "Great presentation, by the way. James really sold your strategy well." And I thought, what? Because I did not even know James had access to the full deck. I had shared it with him 2 weeks ago because he asked to see it for reference. I had no idea he was planning to use it.
Right, so it was not an accident. He did not just reference your work and forget to credit you. He actively presented it as his. That is a significant thing.
Exactly. And what makes it worse is that the leadership team loved it. So now James looks brilliant, and I am sitting here having done all the actual work with nothing to show for it.
I completely understand why you are angry. You have every right to be. But the way you approach this conversation with James is going to make the difference between resolving it well and making it significantly worse. So before you walk in there, let's think about this carefully.
I know. That is why I am talking to you first, because my instinct is to walk up to him and tell him exactly what I think. But I know that is not the right move.
No, it is not. Especially not in an open office. The moment this becomes a public confrontation, people take sides. It becomes about ego and territory rather than what actually happened, and it is almost impossible to resolve cleanly. You want a private conversation, just the two of you.
Okay, so I ask him for a private meeting.
Yes, and when you go in, you do not open with an accusation. Even if he absolutely did what you think he did, opening with, "You stole my work," puts him immediately on the defensive. When people are defensive, they do not listen and they do not take responsibility. They just protect themselves.
So what do I open with?
You open with what you know, the facts. Not your interpretation of the facts, not your feelings about the facts, just the facts themselves. I heard that the strategy I developed was presented to the leadership team yesterday. Full stop. Let him respond. See what he says before you add anything.
What if he just says yes and acts like everything is normal? Like it was not a big deal?
Then you move to the next step. You tell him clearly and calmly what you expected. I expected to be credited for that work. My name was not mentioned in the presentation, and I would like to understand why. You are not accusing him of anything. You are just stating what you expected and asking for an explanation. That is a completely reasonable thing to do.
That feels less confrontational than what I had in mind.
That is the point. The goal of this conversation is not to punish James or make him feel terrible. The goal is to get your work acknowledged, to make sure this does not happen again, and ideally to preserve a working relationship, because you still have to sit next to this person every day.
Even if I do not particularly want to preserve the relationship right now.
Even then, because the professional consequences of handling this badly are real. If you go in angry, raise your voice, accuse him of theft, even if every word is true, you are the one who looks difficult. You are the one who becomes the problem. And that is deeply unfair, but it is how workplaces often work.
So I have to be calm even though I am furious.
You have to be composed. There is a difference. You are allowed to be serious. You are allowed to let him know that this is not a minor issue for you. But you do it without losing control of the conversation. The moment you raise your voice or use aggressive language, you hand him the power. He can dismiss everything you say because he can point to how you said it.
What if he denies it? What if he says it was his own idea and I am misremembering or exaggerating?
Then you have the evidence. You have the original document with your name on it and the date it was created. You have the email where he asked you to share it. You have Tom's message confirming what happened in the room. You do not lead with that evidence. You keep it in reserve. If he denies it, you say calmly, "I have the original files and the email chain. I am happy to share those if that would be helpful." And then you let that sit.
Bring the receipts, but do not wave them around immediately.
Exactly. You only need them if he forces you to use them. If he is reasonable, and he might be, people sometimes do things like this without fully thinking through the consequences. He will acknowledge it, and you can move forward. But if he digs in and denies everything, the evidence becomes your protection.
And if the conversation goes nowhere? If he just stonewalls me and refuses to acknowledge anything?
Then you have a decision to make. You can escalate it to your manager. That is a legitimate option and sometimes the right one. But before you do that, give him the chance to make it right. He might reach out to the leadership team himself and clarify your contribution. He might apologize privately. Give it a day or two after the conversation. If nothing changes, then you take it further.
What would taking it further actually look like?
You go to your manager. You present the facts calmly, the same way you would present them to James. You show the original documents, the timeline, the evidence that the work was yours. You do not make it emotional. You frame it as a professional concern about attribution and process. Managers take that seriously because it is a process issue, not just a personal dispute.
I keep saying I all the time when I think about this conversation. Like, I did this. I worked on this. They ignored me. That sounds whiny even in my own head.
That is a good instinct to notice. Instead of centering it on yourself, center it on the work and on the process. Not, "I was not credited," but "the work was not attributed correctly." Not, "I feel ignored," but "there seems to have been a miscommunication about who developed this strategy." That framing sounds professional rather than personal. And professional concerns get taken seriously in ways that personal grievances often do not.
That is actually a really useful reframe. Make it about the work, not about my feelings.
Exactly. Your feelings are completely valid, but in a workplace conversation, they can work against you if you lead with them. Lead with the professional concern. Your feelings are the reason you are having the conversation, but they do not need to be the content of it.
Okay, I think I am ready. Or as ready as I am going to be.
One last thing. Whatever happens in that room, you handled this the right way. You did not send a passive-aggressive email. You did not complain to everyone in the office. You went directly to the person involved and addressed it professionally. That matters, both for how it feels afterwards and for how you are perceived by everyone around you.
Thank you, genuinely. This helped a lot.
Alex has requested a private meeting with James. James does not know exactly what it is about. Watch how Alex handles it.
So, what did you want to talk about?
I wanted to follow up on yesterday's leadership presentation. I heard that the campaign strategy was presented to the senior team.
Yeah, it went really well, actually. They loved the direction. Should be a strong Q3.
I am glad it landed well. I wanted to talk about the attribution, though. The strategy that was presented, that was the one I developed over the last 3 weeks. And from what I understand, my contribution was not mentioned in the room.
I mean, We worked on it together. It was a team effort.
I appreciate you saying that, but I want to be specific about what happened. I developed the strategy. I built the slides. I pulled together all the data. You asked me to share the deck with you 2 weeks ago, and I did. But the actual development of the work was mine, and I would like to understand how it came to be presented without my name attached to it.
Look, I did not mean for it to come across that way. It was a fast-moving situation. The meeting was brought forward. I had access to the materials. I stepped in. I should have looped you in, I get that.
I appreciate that, and I understand that these things can happen quickly, but the impact is the same regardless of the intention. The leadership team now associates that strategy with you, and that affects how my work is recognized going forward.
What are you suggesting I do about it?
I think the right thing would be to clarify to the team and to our manager that the strategy was my work. You do not need to make a big deal of it. A simple message or a mention in the next meeting would be enough. I just need my contribution to be on record.
That is going to look strange, though. Like I am backtracking on a presentation that already went well.
I understand it might feel uncomfortable, but the alternative is that the record stays inaccurate, and I am not comfortable with that. I have the original files with timestamps and the email where you asked me to share the deck. I am not looking for this to become a bigger issue. I would much rather we resolve it between us, but I do need it to be resolved.
Fine. I will send a message to the team and mention that the strategy was largely your development. Is that enough?
Yes, that is all I am asking for. And I would appreciate it if something like this came up again. If you want to reference my work or build on it, just let me know in advance. I am happy to collaborate. I just need to be part of the conversation.
Fair enough. I hear you.
Thank you, James. I appreciate you being willing to sort this out.
Alex handled that well. He was calm, he was specific, he was firm without being aggressive, and he got what he needed. Now, let's look at the key phrases. Here are the key phrases from today. Some are for preparing a difficult conversation, some are for having it. All of them are natural, professional English. Listen carefully, then use them yourself. Let's start with phrase number 1. On the defensive. This means you feel attacked, and you're trying to protect yourself. For example, starting with blame puts people on the defensive. Moving on to phrase number 2. Bring the receipts. This means having proof ready, like emails, messages, or documents. Now, let's look at phrase number 3. Stonewall. This is when someone refuses to communicate or respond. All right, phrase number 4. Escalate. This means taking a problem to someone at a higher level. Let's get into phrase number 5. The attribution. This is about who gets credit for the work. Now, phrase number 6. Center it on the work. Focus on the task or issue, not on personal feelings. Off to phrase number 7. Regardless of the intention. Even if it wasn't done on purpose, the impact still matters. Let's check out phrase number 8. I need it to be on record. This means you want something officially noted or documented. Now moving to phrase number 9. Loop someone in. This means including someone in a conversation or update. And finally, phrase number 10. I hear you. A simple way to say you understand what someone is saying. 10 phrases from 2 real conversations. Now, think about a difficult conversation you have been avoiding. At work, with a friend, with anyone. What would you say if you used these phrases? Try it out loud. That is your practice for today. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to have a difficult conversation at work? How did it go? Or is there one you have been avoiding? I read every single comment. And would you like to suggest a topic for my next video?